We're going to do a quick review of the EOTECH 512. This is one of EOTECH's more popular red dot sights for a few reasons. I'll talk a little bit about why I went with this model versus some other ones that originally I wanted more. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about my impressions of it. I've had the opportunity to take this thing out and shoot it, and man, I'm really surprised at how much I like this red dot. I mean, everyone told me to go with EOTECH, and I looked at some others, and I was, confident that EOTECH was going to be a great company and have great products, but man, was I surprised at how much I enjoyed it. So here we go. I'm going to get right into it, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that it has listed on the website. You can get this stuff online, but just in case any of you guys are curious, we'll just go over them. This particular model for EOTECH, the 512, is powered with AA batteries. So that's a good thing. The AA batteries, it supports lithium AA's as well, so you can get those just about anywhere for relatively inexpensive. It has a 1 MOA aiming dot, so you can really fine-tune how much you're dialing in your rifle. Has an aluminum hood assembly with a toolless mounting bolt. That's something that's kind of neat I want to talk to you guys about when we get over there to it. Also, it comes with a recessed mounting bolt as well in case you don't want something sticking out of the side. It goes on a standard 1-inch Picatinny rail or a Weaver rail, which is nice. But hey, let's get into some of the specifics that made me choose this particular model. One of the things that I thought was really neat about this model is that I was worried about things like, glares when I'm looking through the window and, what it was made out of and this and that. And what they have advertised on their website is it has an anti-glare coating and a 1H solid glass front window. I believe the rear window is a laminate, like a shatter-resistant laminate. This thing has 20 different brightness settings. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you guys about the brightness settings particularly, and we'll get into this when I'm showing you the red dot itself, but some people kind of are turned off by the EOTECHs because they say they're fuzzy or things like that, and I really want to just stress to you guys that has nothing more to do with anything except the brightness setting that you have it on. And I'll show you exactly what I mean when we transition from indoors to outdoors here in a minute, but you'll really be able to get a good shot of what I mean by that. And no matter how light you want it or how bright you want it, this thing has got a setting for it, which is really neat. If you're using lithium AA batteries, it's advertised to have 1,000 continuous hours, so you could effectively just leave this thing on all the time. I don't. I shut it off every time I use it when I get done using it, but you could. It also has a couple 8-hour and 4-hour shut-off, automatic shut-offs that I want to show you guys too, which is kind of a neat feature. So one of the things I took into consideration when picking out my model was the battery type, and originally I was really wanting to go with the CR123. I'm a huge fan of that battery. It really pushes the maximum strength out of the battery until it dies. It doesn't wean down your product as the battery gets weaker. But after doing some research, found that EOTECHs are kind of known for that not happening. They kind of push the maximum out of any battery type that goes into them. So for me, I wound up looking at this model because it takes AA's. AA's are easier to find, they're less expensive. The only downside to having this model with AA's is that it takes up more room on your rifle. Now, if that doesn't matter to you, and this is an okay size, then I would definitely recommend looking at AA's, but the CR123 stop about up here. This whole front end is gone because the CR123 battery runs this way, if I'm not mistaken. And they're short, so it doesn't take up that much room on there. So that was one thing, and while we're talking about batteries, I'll show you guys exactly how it works. See this little lever right here on top? You lift that up, and now it pops your batteries. So pretty simple. You pop in some new ones. Set this back in there, and then close the cap, and you're back in business. So really easy to take in and out. Originally I was toying around with the idea of, some of the more expensive ones because I thought to myself, well, it has to be a better red dot system. And it turns out that's actually not correct at all. The different models have different features, but the inner workings of how the red dot functions itself are the same. You get the same quality of red dot despite which version of the EOTECH you go with. What's different are some of the features like the battery type, like whether or not it has night vision, button configuration, whether or not it has a quick release lever, those kinds of things. So, once I found that out, I really started thinking about some of the models that weren't quite so pricey. This definitely isn't a cheap one, but it's also not the most expensive either. So one thing I found was kind of neat is, like I said, one of the things that can be a feature is the quick release lever. A lot of their models have this little lever that you just pry open, set it on, and pry closed, and then you're locked in. I thought that these would be harder to get on or off, but the way it works, look underneath here, you can see it has this thumb screw, right? And you turn it to tighten it, you turn it to loosen it. They also have the recessed one that goes inside. That way, if you don't want anything sticking out of the side, you can use that instead. The reason I wanted to point this out to you guys is because it's very easy to get on and off the rifle. As you tighten this, what it does is, if you look down here, it pulls upward. Let's see if I can get a little closer for you guys. That piece that goes into the recess of the Picatinny rail and holds it on. So while a quick release lever sounds nice, the only thing you have to do to get this off, loosen it a few times, and it just comes right off the top. So I thought that was a huge plus, and a lot of their ones with the quick release levers can be a little bit pricier. So you definitely don't need that feature. Is it nice to have? I'm sure it is, but for me it wasn't something that was necessary. I also, wasn't going to commit to night vision stuff. I don't think I'll ever have a need for that. So I didn't get any of those kinds of things too. So with that being said, let's go into the button configuration on this thing. One of the things that's really nice about this EOTECH is that if you look on the back here, you've got an up arrow and a down arrow. Pressing either button will turn the red dot on, but if I press the down arrow, it has an automatic 4-hour shut off, which means is that when I turn it on, okay, turn it on for you guys. There we go, we're in business now. When I turn it on, it looks blurry here, but it's just because I'm right on top of the table where I'm shining it. It'll shut off automatically in 4 hours, which is really a huge plus. And if you press the right one to turn it on, the up arrow, it'll shut off by itself in 8 hours. Also, if you press both at the same time, that's how you turn the red dot off. And again, like I said, that's just because I'm shining it on top of the table here, but I'll show you what it looks like here in a second. So those are some of the features and things that I really took into consideration when picking out the model of EOTECH I wanted to go with. So here, let's look down the reticle, and you guys can actually get a good look at how the red dot looks. Alright guys, so here's a shot of the red dot itself. Excuse the shakiness, I'm trying to do this one hand with the camera free. But you can really get an idea of what it looks like. You can really see how crisp this red dot is, and I know, like I said, some people are a little nervous about them because they feel they look blurry or something like that, and I just wanted to show you guys how crisp this thing actually is. And in a second I'm going to take this thing outside and show you guys again where I think that blurriness some people talk about comes from, because this thing is about as crisp as you can get. So there we go, let's go outside and let's take a look at the red dot. Alright, so as you guys can see here, the red dot outside is extremely crisp. Now, it's important to remember that in order for me to pull this off, I had to turn the brightness way up than what it was when we were inside. As it's brighter outside, you need to have the reticle brighter in order for you to be able to see the dot in the middle. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside, and I'm going to show you guys exactly what this same brightness setting looks like indoors. I just showed you guys a minute ago, when you have the brightness on the correct setting, what it looks like. Now, without turning it back down, I'm going to go inside and show you this. Here we go, guys. Now you can see how overly bright this thing is. And the reason for that is because of how bright we had to turn it up to view outside. I can turn this thing up even brighter and it gets even blurrier and not as crisp and fine. That's just an attribute of the brightness setting you have it on. So I just wanted to give you guys the opportunity to take a look at that in case there's anyone out there that had heard that they were blurry or anything, so you guys can kind of make that decision for yourselves. Alright? So in order to just wrap this up real quick for you guys, I think this is an outstanding red dot. If you're not concerned about a quick release lever, a certain battery type over another, and you're not concerned about night vision, the 512 is the way to go. It's $200 to $250 less than some of their more high-end ones. You still get the same great quality of red dot. You pick up your sight picture so incredibly fast on one of these, it's ridiculous. And definitely check it out. Shooting with both eyes open is awesome. Some of you guys, including myself, we train for that even with our other firearms. But a dedicated holographic red dot system is a great addition to your rifle. Now it depends on your yardage, what you're trying to get to. You obviously, if you're shooting a couple hundred yards out, you might want to go with some sort of scope. But if it fits your system, I highly recommend the EOTECH 512. Any of the EOTECHs for that matter, depending on the features you like. They also come in different colors. This one comes in some sort of camo. I can't remember what variety. Some of them come in flat dark earth, all kinds of things. So give them a look and check them out. I guarantee that you guys will not be disappointed.